Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda. For several months now, we've been working our way through the books of the Old Testament and seeing how Jesus appears in all of those books, that he is the great theme of the Bible, both Old Testament and New Testament. And he is, of course, the lens, the key to understanding the Bible, both Old and New Testaments. Now we've finally reached the last book of the Old Testament, the 39th book, Malachi. Malachi was the last person in the Old Testament to prophesy, and Malachi was the last book to be written of the Old Testament. After him came what theologians call the 400 silent years, when there was no prophecy in the land until the events that we see described in the four Gospels took place. Now, most often when we hear Malachi quoted in churches, it's to introduce a financial offering. It's to do about tithing. But there's so much more than tithing in the book of Malachi. There's so much about Jesus. In Malachi chapter 2, the people asked, "Where is the God of justice?" And because they were looking at all the wickedness and said, "Where is the God of justice?" Well, the answer that Malachi gave them was really shocking. He said, the God of justice is going to come and visit you personally. But before he does so, he's going to send a messenger who will come in his name, and then the God of justice will come to the temple. We know, of course, the messenger was John the Baptist, and that Jesus himself came and ministered in the temple on many occasions. Also, Malachi talks about the messenger of the new covenant. And in chapter 4, we're told that the messenger he will send is Elijah, who will appear before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And Jesus himself said that John the Baptist was Elijah come. He was that fulfillment of the promise because he came in the spirit of Elijah. And that was in Matthew 11, 13, 14. But also the angel Gabriel in Luke's Gospel, whenever he spoke to John the Baptist's father in the temple, said that John would come in the power and spirit of Elijah. But there's also this wonderful passage in Malachi where it says, "The Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings." Now, it's tempting for us to translate son there as S-O-N, the Son of God. But of course, it's only in English that the word for the sun in the sky, S-U-N, and the word for the son of a father, S-O-N, are the same. It's not the same in Hebrew. So when Malachi says the Son of Righteousness, it's S-U-N, the shining forth of God's righteousness. But it still does speak about Jesus as God's Son, because this phrase with healing in his wings, there's something lovely here. You see, every Jewish man in the first century wore a robe, like a shawl. It was called a talit. And on the four corners of it, there were tassels. And these tassels in Hebrew, the word for tassel was literally a wing. So the Jewish male's garment had four wings. And when Malachi says that the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in his wings, that can actually mean that in his very garment, touching his garment could bring healing. Luke 8:42-44 says, "As Jesus was on his way, the crowds almost crushed him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years, but no one could heal her. She came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak, and immediately her bleeding stopped." In Mark 6:54-56, it says, "As soon as they got out of the boat, people recognized Jesus. They ran throughout that whole region and carried those who were ill on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages, towns, or countryside, they placed those who were ill in the marketplace, and they begged him to let them touch even the edge of his cloak. And all who touched it were healed." The Son of Righteousness walked through Israel, and all who touched the wings of his garment found healing. So we've been looking at Jesus in all these 39 books of the Old Testament. That brings to an end this little series. We'll be continuing the Take Fives on other subjects. But I thank God that he wanted to show us Jesus long before Jesus walked on the earth. He used the 39 books of the Old Testament to do that, and he still uses them for that. And he still uses the 27 books of the New Testament to tell us about Jesus. Thank God for his word. Join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Solid Rock Drogheda.